Welcome to Churchill Scale Modelling. This is part 7 of AFV Club's Churchill Mark IV. Scale is 1/35. In this part I'm going to be finishing off the turret and putting all the remaining bits and pieces onto the tank. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. To start with, I'm placing on a part that I forgot to put on. It's just a single pipe that needs to go on at the side of the skirt armament here, and I painted this with Revel Aquacolor 91 steel. So once that was on, it was back to the turret, and I'm making the rear box up here. It's just two halves placed together, and onto the access hatches. Now I'm having these closed like throughout the model. There is an option to have these open, but because I'm having them closed, it's just a simple case of placing the closed hatch onto the mount before placing it into the turret. Fitted excellently. There's no drama here. There's an extra couple of things to go onto the turret, these small parts, and all of them are painted in Revel Aquacolor 46 Native Olive. Now the instructions are calling for khaki green, but I think the olive is a fine colour for it. The box is a simple fit. There is a little disc you can fit on inside underneath, but once the turret's on you won't see that, so it's up to you whether you want to put it on. The next part is to make up the mounts for the hatches. Now there's a couple of options here. You can have a clear part for this, or you can have the molded plastic part. Now the instructions didn't actually tell you that you had that option, so you have to look at the sprue just to make sure that you know which one that you're picking up, but both of them are treated in the same way. Once the excess material was removed, I was then able to put on the hatch covers. Now the instructions say put on a bracket before you put the covers on, but I had a look at it and dry fitted, and I thought, well, it'd be better to put the hatches on first, so that's what I did. The two little brackets are just those two little things that you see next to the mount of the hatch, and they go on over the bracket itself. There's a little lip so the bracket can push into it if you fit them beforehand, but it's easier to do it this way. And once they were on, then I was able then to put in the mount for the hatches. As you can see, it just pushes on without any problems. Next is to make up the sights, and that's just the clear part. This is a wedge shaped part that goes into the its housing. Now there is a bottom section to this. If you cast your mind back to one of the I think it was part 2 of the video, there's another part that goes underneath. That's fine if you're having the hatch open, but because I'm closed, you won't see anything inside. I'm not concentrating on that. I'm just putting on the actual site itself. It's entirely up to the builder, of course, how they want to approach it, but I don't see the point putting all the little parts on that's not going to be seen. I'll do it now and again just to show you, but because I've already done that process, this is just going straight on. And then it's just a matter of putting on the various covers. There's one or two to place on here. And same with the other hatch. These are going on without any brackets from the inside being done. So once that's there, I'm just giving a light coat of the main colour, Revel Aquacolor 65 Bronze Green. The reason why I'm doing this now is before I fit the side parts to it, there's one canister, and I think the fire extinguishers or something like that go in the back toolbox. It's better to just have a light coating so the cement will eat through that paint, and I can then place them on and not worry about having to paint into very small areas. Here I'm making up one of the aerial mounts. This is a basket shaped top with a central shaft. The construction of the shaft, the basket shaft, is quite interesting. You do it in reverse order as such. The pin goes into the basket, then pushes down to its full length instead of going from the underneath up. There is a little step of plastic at the top to form the top of the shaft, and it just clicks in. You'd be forgiven to thinking it goes the other way, but it would not fit if you did it that way. So I'll just carry on adding all the extra little brackets and things that go onto the arches and the turret. They're too small to go into detail, really. There is one photo etch part that goes on here. Well, actually, there's two, but this one requires a little bit of bending, and it's just the two ends that bend up to a right angle. The other photo etch part is just a square plate that goes onto the aerial mount. Now the paint's dry, I can place on the canister and let's call them fire extinguishers. I don't know what they are. They're sort of fire extinguisher shapes, but they go into the side of the toolbox. And just carry on, as I said, with adding all the tiny little parts on. And that's the turret complete. So there's not a lot to it as such, just a lot of small parts really. And the howitzer gun was the most technical part of that particular build. So now I'm going on to the wooden frame, and I'm painting this with Revit Color 382 wood brown. And then I'm going back to the turret and giving everything its first coat. So I'm using Revit Aquacolor 65 bronze green once more. So as part of the frame, I just thought I'd paint the turret and let that dry while I'm carrying on with something else. This frame is a very simple construction. I started off with the middle section. There's a middle and a left and a right section. And I'm placing the support beams down the middle section. Now each one has a nice little groove cut out of it, and each cross beam should just fit in there snugly. And once they were in, I was able then to just match up the corresponding sides. I think this frame is a very good construction. There's not much to it, but it looks quite effective once it's built up. Then it's on to the cables. There's a series of cables that you have to make up, each column for a different length. So once I measured them out, I just cut them to size. Then each one I thread through the support bracket and I secure them using super glue. I then stretched them out and painted them in Humbrol's 53 gunmetal. To attach the cable, it was rather simple. There is a location point for the cable brackets to fit onto, and you just thread it around until you get to the opposite bracket. Then once that's dry, I'm going to make a couple of aerials. So I've got a bit of cut-off sprue here, and I'm just heating up the middle of it. But just be very careful if you're going to be doing this, and stretching it out to form the aerial. And they're also getting painted in Humbrol 53 gunmetal. Another cable runs the length of the track, so like the side ones, I'm just threading it through the bracket first of all, then securing it. And then once that's done, I'm just placing on the wooden cradle. That fits perfectly up within the contours of the tank. The middle section of the cable that runs the length of the tank, there's a bracket that has to be made up and placed in between. There's a few little bits to this. There's the main part, then a couple of eyelets that go into each side. Before I attach that, there's another cable to be installed in the rear of the tank, so I'm just placing the eyelets onto that cable, and then that gets placed onto the brackets just by pushing them on. Once they're on, you don't want to cement these, you want them to have movement. Then it's time to place on the turret. Now this is push and twists on. You may want to do this before you put the wooden frame on. It's doable either way, but it may be a little bit easier without the wooden frame being on. Then I was able to place in the aerials. Next to go on are the aerials. Tip this up so that you can see the aerials. You can't really see them there. They're very thin. And it's back to the central bracket. Now all the subcomponents are dry. It's just time to make up the bracket as well, all completely. So the little eyelet at the end goes on. That goes into this long span before that gets connected to the central unit. And then once it's dry, I connect the cable to the middle section bracket. suppose a little bit tricky to thread through, but it is doable. And the raw end then gets looped around and secured to the original bracket that the cable was attached to. Then onto the middle section. Now this one's a bit strange. You create a loop here to join into the rear part of the cable. So if you get the measurements right, there's just enough room to do this, but it can be rather tricky. There's also 3 little eyelets placed or threaded through this little part as well. I found that quite difficult to connect. Some of them just split, but the kit gives you enough of them just in case for that happens. So how I tackle this, obviously you don't want a big knot in the middle of your cable. So I simply put a minuscule amount of super glue on one end and then drew the 2 ends together and held it with my nail so it really wouldn't stick to the cable. And this is where I'll end part 7. In fact, this is the build complete, so the next video will be the final reveal. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, and please do so, make sure you hit the notification bell, that way you'll be kept up to date with all my future builds and of course the final reveal of this build. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching, bye bye.